Bart Simpson should not work as a character, as a child, or as a long-running anchor of a decades-old show. He lies, rebels, sabotages authority, and resists every structure meant to control him. In reality, someone like this causes collapse, but that never happens. Springfield survives, the family survives, the show survives. That contradiction is Bart's paradox, and it raises a disturbing question. What if Bart was never meant to break the system, but to protect it? Bart Simpson is not passively flawed. He is actively disruptive by design. Where Homer fails upward through incompetence and Lisa destabilizes systems through intelligence, Bart destabilizes them through behavior. He skips school, humiliates authority figures, manipulates adults, and resists internal discipline at every turn. By every rule of storytelling, a character like this should force escalation. Consequences should pile up, relationships should fracture, and institutions should eventually fail under the pressure. Yet, none of that happens. Instead, the world resets around Bart, not in a lazy sitcom loop, but in a controlled, deliberate way. The damage does not disappear. It is absorbed. And the unsettling truth is that Bart himself becomes the buffer, containing the chaos so the larger system never fully breaks. The first real clue appears almost immediately in Bart the Genius. This story does something surprisingly risky. It proves Bart is not stupid. When Bart is mistakenly placed in a school for gifted children, he doesn't fail because he lacks intelligence. He fails because he doesn't belong. The structure is wrong, the expectations are wrong, the environment itself is hostile to who he is. And when that happens, something unexpected occurs. Bart doesn't become louder or more destructive. He becomes quiet, isolated, uncomfortable. The rebellion fades instead of escalating. That shift matters. It reveals that Bart's misbehavior was never random or impulsive chaos. It was situational, triggered by systems that couldn't adapt to him. This story quietly reframes Bart's entire character. He isn't incapable of discipline or order. He is incompatible with rigid structures that demand conformity over understanding. Bart isn't broken, he's misplaced, and the moment he's put in the wrong system, the chaos drains out of him rather than exploding. If Bart the Genius reveals Bart's potential, Bart Gets an F reveals his function. This is not a funny story. It is one of the most quietly devastating moments in the entire series. Bart genuinely tries. He studies, he panics, he breaks down emotionally under pressure. And despite all of that effort, he still fails. But the failure itself is not the most important part. What matters is the response. The school system shows no flexibility, no self-reflection, and no accountability. It never questions whether its structure is part of the problem. Instead, it redirects that failure onto Bart. And Bart accepts it. He does not rebel harder. He does not expose the system or demand it change. He internalizes the blame and carries it himself. This moment quietly reveals Bart's real role within Springfield. He becomes the place where institutional failure is stored, so the institution can continue pretending it works. That is not incompetence or laziness. It is containment. Bart absorbs what the system refuses to confront, preventing larger cracks from forming while paying the cost personally. In separate vocations, the show flips its own formula. Bart is placed into a hands-on vocational track, and almost immediately, the chaos disappears. He thrives. There is no rebellion, no sabotage, no instability. At the same time, Lisa begins to collapse under academic pressure. Anxiety replaces confidence, and structure turns into suffocation. This contrast is not accidental. It exposes a deeper rule the show rarely states out loud. Bart only destabilizes systems that refuse to adapt to him. When the system bends even slightly, Bart stabilizes completely. His behavior shifts without resistance or punishment, which means Bart was never the problem the show was trying to fix. The real issue was rigidity. When institutions prioritize conformity over understanding, Bart pushes back. When they adjust to reality, he no longer needs to. Bart the Lover is the moment where the show quietly takes away our ability to laugh comfortably. Bart's prank causes real emotional damage, and for the first time, He fully understands the weight of what he has done. What matters most is what happens next. Bart feels genuine guilt. He takes responsibility for the harm he caused, and he fixes it without taking credit or seeking forgiveness publicly. There is no applause, no reset, and no reward waiting for him. This moment establishes a critical rule that defines Bart going forward. He has an internal moral boundary. He will push against authority, rules, and expectations, but he will not cross into irreversible harm. And that boundary is not enforced by punishment or fear of consequences. It is enforced by empathy. Bart understands when someone else is hurt, and that understanding stops him. If Bart the Lover defines Bart's emotional limits, Radio Bart defines his physical ones. This prank risks real death, and the response is immediate and collective. Emergency services mobilize. The entire town reacts as one. For the first time, Bart experiences consequence at scale, not as punishment, but as reality closing in. And afterward, something changes. His pranks no longer escalate. They become smaller, more contained, and noticeably safer. The show never pauses to explain this shift or spell it out for the audience. It doesn't need to. Bart has learned where chaos stops being reversible, and once he understands that line, he does not cross it again. Fame is the ultimate destabilizer. In Bart Gets Famous, Bart reaches maximum visibility, and for a moment, the system bends around him. Then it snaps back violently, and Bart is discarded. What matters is what he does afterward. He does not chase power or try to reclaim attention. He retreats into obscurity instead. At this moment, Bart learns something critical. Power does not create stability, it amplifies chaos. And once he understands that, Bart instinctively avoids it, choosing the safety of being small over the danger of being central. By this point, the paradox resolves itself. Bart Simpson is not chaos. He is controlled instability. He absorbs emotional pressure, redirects institutional hypocrisy, and misbehaves within limits the system can survive. Where Homer destabilizes reality through ignorance and Lisa destabilizes it through truth, Bart stabilizes it through behavior. He fails so institutions do not have to admit weakness. He rebels so authority does not implode under its own contradictions. He acts out what the system refuses to confront directly. Bart is not the flaw in Springfield's design. He is the buffer that keeps everything from breaking all at once. This is why The Simpsons never collapses under its contradictions. Bart never pushes far enough to destroy the system that sustains him. He releases pressure without rupture. And once you see that, Bart stops being shallow comic relief and becomes something more unsettling and intentional. Bart Simpson is not random. He is necessary. So the next time you watch, don't just laugh at Bart. Watch where he stops, what he refuses to destroy, and how often he absorbs the blame. Bart's paradox was never a mistake. It was a solution hiding in plain sight. If you enjoyed this breakdown, like the video, subscribe for more deep dives, and tell me which Bart story changed how you see him.